Ingrid will do a 20-minute presentation, and we will be following that by a 5-minute Q&A during her presentation. So I'll be introducing her shortly. And once we do the Q&A at the bottom of the hour, we're going to break out into breakout rooms. And our key person who is helping us do that actually couldn't join today. So I'm going to be doing that, well, in the next few minutes. So hopefully that will go fine. But we plan to have a 20-minute breakout session. We have moderators, 6 from the color literacy team, and we have a couple other colleagues that are joining us as moderators. And the question that we will be talking about, and we want you to be thinking about while Ingrid gives her presentation, is looking at the future of color education. So here's the question that we'll be talking about in the breakout rooms. What kind of support and resources are essential to implement an updated color curriculum at your university? So we really want to focus on solutions going forward. And with that, I would like to introduce our speaker. I am so excited to be able to introduce Ingrid. Ingrid Calvo Ivanovic is a color designer, research and consultant in design research at Politecnico di Milano in Milan in Spain, and an assistant professor in the design department at the University of Chile. She has an MA in image studies and graphic design. She's also a member of the AIC Executive Committee, the editorial board of Color Research and Application Journal, and a member of the steering committee of the Color Literacy Project. For more than 12 years, Ingrid has been a full-time researcher in the field of color, developing methodologies for its teaching, study, and application in design, architecture, and art in relation to other research areas such as visual and curatorial studies. She's presented her research at color conferences and workshops around the world. So Ingrid, thank you for joining us for this inaugural Color Literacy Forum. We look forward to your presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Luen. Thank you all of you for being here and for coming. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. So I'm going to present you a part of my doctoral dissertation that is called Color Teaching in Design Education, and we are going to see a state-of-the-art of color teaching and design programs. So I wanted to start with the theoretical background of the research and the analysis that I'm going to present to you today. So I start from the issue of color education and the identification of a problem in color education at the university level, and most of all at all levels, but very, very important in the the university level, as several scholars have documented this lack of proper color training within design and architecture faculties and during the last 30 years, as color courses are under considered in these universities or these faculties. And from the literature review, we might find that there are 2 possible reasons. The first reason is related to the complex interdisciplinary nature of color knowledge. And the second reason is a tradition of chromophobia, which is a concept provided by David Batchelor in 2000. And this chromophobia can be related to the debate of color versus form. So I'm going to explain these 2 motivations. So in the first motivation, in the motivation of the interdisciplinary complex nature of color, we may find that color is a huge and important topic. Its complicity seems to hinder the complete understanding and the delimitation of a focused body of study for creative disciplines. So in this first motivation, we see that color is too complex and that is difficult to include it into the different universities or the different programs. So because of this, a significant part of the institutions, design and architecture institutions, do not offer color training because it would need a comprehensive review and a lot of theoretical paradigms and ontological assumptions and constructs. So it is perceived as a difficult matter to teach. And also this complexity is related to communication and terminology problems, because the knowledge of color comes from several disciplines that produce color knowledge. And these disciplines may be related to arts, science, philosophy, chemistry, among others, and all of them have their proper terminology. So this complicates also the understanding, the integrated understanding of color as a science or a field of knowledge. So the other motivation is related to chromophobia and the debate between color and form. So here we may find that this problem of color, this issue of color, may be related to the origin of color education, or how color education started inside the design or the architecture faculties, and then from architecture faculties it passed through the design career. So architecture is a discipline that carries a much more formalist tradition from classical architecture, and is related also to the avant-garde and the modernism, and how color was in a way denied in modernist or modernist architecture. So from this origin, from this tradition of design as a discipline that was born inside of the faculties of architecture, color has usually considered wrongly as a mere aesthetic factor, so linked only to personal taste and individual expression, and students may feel not prepared to select colors on any other basis beside these aesthetic principles. So as we see for the first motivation, color is too huge, too wide, and too complex that it's difficult to teach it. From this other motivation, we find that color is a mere aesthetic factor, or not that important to be taught. So the common point between these two motivations that we may find is that this result in low consideration of color inside of the design schools or architecture schools. So, but we find also some universities, some institutions with color it is taught, and in the case of these institutions, we find that color courses are mainly focused only on color theory, and this leaves aside contents concerning color application, color in the work field, and more the practice of design and how color is related to the practice of design. So most of color courses nowadays in most of universities that do teach colors are related only to color theory. And another common problem that we may find in literature, but also talking with different stakeholders, is that the dedication of hours to the color matters inside of the universities is in many cases insufficient. So teachers feel that they don't have the proper amount of time to teach color, and also, as we have been saying, it's a complex matter. So color is a matter that is regularly offered only as an elective or short courses. The choice of being the choice of which, or the choice of being trained is left only to students' discretion. It is important to say this because from this perspective, color is not considered an important or elemental course inside of universities, but is something that the students may like or not like. So at the end of it, this all results in the fact that the students' lack of confidence, they feel that they don't reach the basic color skills, and this also feeds the lack of a culture of color in design and the lack of qualified professionals, as they may not find color training in the universities. So from this, from literature, I perform also some interactions with the stakeholders and actors. So the first stakeholders were design professionals, and design professionals feel a high appreciation for the importance of color within the design process, although they feel that is more related only to aesthetic matters than functional or communicational matters. And because of this, because also this lack of training, color decisions inside of design studios, inside of color of design companies or workshops are usually taken by people that are considered to be more expert, which is usually the bosses or the people that is from before inside of the design studio. And then also there is an important matter, that is that designers or professional designers feel that they should have been educated better in color, and that this should be something that has to be improved also, as they feel they didn't receive the proper color teaching. Other stakeholders are design students, the people that are studying design in this moment, in the moment that I was doing my research. And the thing with design students is that they usually arrive to the institution, the design institution, or the universities with significant expectations regarding that color may be important for the design process, but these expectations, as we have seen, are usually not met. And there's a big difference between the students from universities that do not teach color and students that do teach, universities that do teach color. So students with color training are more aware of the color importance in the design process, and students without color training they don't feel confident. And this also has a consequence on the fact that if color is not taught at universities, students are going to do a little effort to obtain color training elsewhere or afterwards. So if we don't teach color inside of the universities, if we don't teach color inside the student training, it is probably it is not the student is not going to have a culture of color outside of the university when he or she is going to be a professional. And the final stakeholder, and also which is probably more related to our audience today and the people that is participating in the forum, is design and color teachers. When speaking with design and color teachers during my PhD, I found that they confirmed this struggle with this shortage of resources and time, and low consideration of color matters within the institutional culture. And teachers were also feeling that they have to convince directives and curricular planners in order to find more space for color inside the universities or in the institutions. And another challenge that was related to the time that I was performing this analysis was remote teaching, because this was during the pandemic time. So another big challenge, or the highest challenge that teachers may find nowadays, is color relativity, or this is also teaching color through a screen and not seeing or not looking at the same phenomena that the students are looking at. So from this, I wanted to complete the definition of the state of the art, and I performed some research actions. So starting from the research gap, which was this lack of proper color training in design higher education, as the teaching of color was not or is not aligned with the current design discipline needs. And one of my research questions was how color has been taught in design education higher institutions during the last decade in order to have an updated panorama, and what are the relevant aspects regarding color education that are missing or can be improved. And the research action that I am also going to present you today is this analysis to 103 color courses of design schools to outline this updated panorama of the inclusion of color knowledge inside design programs and curricula. So going into the details of the analysis, first of all, we have the selection criteria and some criteria to select these more than 100 courses. First of all was relevance. And this is related to the fact that courses had to contain the word color in their title. This is in order to explain that I didn't consider courses that were named as visual perception or color or form or visual elements, because I wanted to focus on courses where color was the most important topic of the course and not where color was only one of the topics of the course. So then we have the thing of the educational context. So these color courses that I selected were taught inside an institution that contemplated design discipline in some of these of its areas. So if the color course was only for architecture, I was not considering it. And also the period of the courses, or the period where I was, which I were working with. And in this case, in order to have an updated panorama, I worked only with color courses that were taught from between 2010 and 2020. And as any research, we have also some limitations for this analysis. The first limitation was the language, because I could work only with color courses that were taught in English, Spanish, or Italian, which are the languages that I can understand. Or some of them had their syllabi originally translated to these languages from the institution. So the institution was providing the syllabi in one of these languages. And then another limitation was the availability of the syllabi. Half of the syllabi were shared by me, by teachers, with me, by teachers themselves, or were available online. The other half was available online in the institution website. And also there is another cultural limitation related to the fact that I worked only with courses from the Western world and higher design education institutions. So I focused the analysis in two main aspects. The first aspect was the formal aspects, and this is related to things that are more related to numbers. This is more or less the more quantitative part of the analysis, but I wanted to show you some of the aspects of the formal aspects that may be relevant also to our discussion afterwards. And the first is the issue of time, or the hours dedicated to color. So as you can see here in blue and in red, most of the color courses that I analyze dedicated one semester or less time for color teaching, and with a high percentage of courses that were taking only 6 to 20 hours. And this is critical when we think on the fact that most of the time these color courses are the only possibility that the students have inside of the career, the design career, to learn color. So up to 20 hours is a really low consideration of color. Then going into the focus, or the specific disciplinary area where the courses were focused to, we have that industrial design is the part of the area of design that considered the most color courses, then interior, and then visual communication design. And we see some less percentage of colors for fashion, or colors that are called color design specifically, or and we don't see, and I couldn't find a lot of courses dedicated to another emerging areas such as UX, UI, interaction design, game design, or other newer areas of design. Then we have the origin, or the course's location of this analysis. So most of the courses, half of them were from Europe. Then we have Latin America, North America, Oceania, and only 5 color courses that were taught fully online. And then in the intended 4 aspects, so which is the student's entry profile for the courses, where courses were more focused for undergraduate students, so as we can see in blue, and then the other percentage in green is professionals, and only a few courses were focused for to postgrad students. So color is not being taught a lot at the postgrad or postgrad level of education or high education. So the summary of this find out the most important findings on the formal aspects. We
Ingrid,
can see
sorry,
that
you have 2 minutes. 2 minutes, Ingrid.
Okay. Oh, I think I'm a bit late, so I'm going to go a bit faster. So the dedication of hours, the dedication was of 1 semester or less in the 73% of the course. Then we have the educational level. So color is taught mainly at the undergraduate level. So as we saw, is almost not considered in the postgrad level. Then we have the type of institution, and half of the courses were taught in universities, and the other half in professional institutes or academies. And then the newer areas of design were not really considered, and there were no courses for service design, well-being, sustainability, or other areas. So going into the didactic strategies, I analyzed the thing of learning outcomes. So we can see here that in red and green, we have the most important percentages. This is related to the fact that the students are learning color, and they are learning about color and how to do with color, but only a few of them are learning how to create with color, and this is a critical element of the analysis. Then on the cognitive dimensions, we see that the learning outcomes are more focused on remembering, understanding, and applying, and not a lot focus on analyzing, evaluating, and creating. And this is, we may say that analyze, evaluate, and create are the actions that are more related to design. So it seems that the color teaching is not being linked directly to the design actions. And also in the topic of theoretical or applied knowledge, we see that theoretical and applied knowledge are more or less half and a half. So courses are theoretical and applied in also almost the same proportion. And passing into the contents, we see that color fundamentals are the most topics are related to color perception and color theory, only a few to color relativity and color language. Then going into the topics of color application, we have that even if color courses are really applied, or like half of the courses were applied, we may see that this application is more related to a technical application than in the highest percentage. And then we find the different ways in which color is related to the different specific areas of design. And this is how it is composed, the color application topics inside of the courses. Then the exercise or teaching and learning activities, we see here that theory and practice are like half and a half. We see that a lot of color courses are still focused on theoretical lessons and doing practical exercises, but other kind of teaching and learning activities, as case study or laboratory work or project work, are still in a low consideration inside of color courses for design. And finally, the bibliography. So bibliography was something really interesting, because I found that most of the bibliography that students, that teachers have suggested in order to complement the courses is really new, and it is most of the bibliography is published after 2000. So this was interesting, because we were seeing in the literature review that the color theory was not updated, and bibliography was really updated. So this is a paradox between the two. So I am going into the final slide. So the summary of the findings in didactic strategies that I found is that the learning outcomes are more focused on concrete learning than abstract learning, and abstract learning is really more related also to design. So remember, understand, and apply dimensions are the most considered, and the higher cognitive tasks, analyze, evaluate, and create, that are more related to design discipline, reach only these 20% of the outcomes. In the knowledge dimension, we find that the most considered are the factual and procedural. This is to know about color and to know how to do with color, but we don't find a lot of reflection or critical thinking related to color, but mostly the application of a theory. The contents structure that we find in the analysis, that the courses are half theoretical and half applied. And when these courses have an applied focus, it is usually a technical approach to color instead of a creative or design-based approach. And the learning activities are more or less half passive and half active learning. And there's a low focus on observation activities, which means that students had not been taught to see how to see with color. So Finally, the discussion and open path that the analysis provided in order also to open the conversation in our forum is a lack of connection between color education and the design discipline. So this lack of connection is related to the dedication of hours to color teaching, which is still very low in design education institutions. Then we find that there is a missing link between color theory and the design practice, and that students learn color as detached from design work field and the design needs. And then there is a question, it's a more open question, but it's related to who is responsible for implementing more color training in the schools. And teachers, as I said, find difficulties to convince curricula planners and in this trying to understand who is responsible for having more color inside of the schools. Maybe companies and industries may be allied in raising awareness. And I will say also to take advantage of this color education momentum in which we are all gathering and meeting and talking and starting to talk about color education. And finally, some of the possibilities to solve or to improve the issue of color education is that color knowledge, and this is one of the results of this analysis, but also a result of my research, is that color knowledge should be reviewed and updated according to the design education needs, so color can become a more robust and integral part of the design process. Then also the fact that emerging areas of design may be an opportunity to boost the color, the vogue of color, and we may consider also some topics or emerging topics related to sustainability, human comfort, and well-being that are being really trendy in this moment, or really important also for society in this moment, and color may say something also related to this. And finally, as there is a strong need, and this is another result of the analysis, is there is a strong need to move from color education based only in the transmission of contents to a student-centered focus that may be able to dialogue with design-based learning, which is the teaching approach at the core of the creative discipline. So, and also this is related to the color literacy project. This is there is something that may be the truth in this moment, because we have been talking a lot in a lot of different events, and this seems that this need to change or to update the color education is more important than ever, and we may have a big opportunity this, and the forum also is part of this initiative. So thank you very much for your attention, and these are my email and my Instagram if you want to see more results of the projects, or if you want to ask some questions.
Great, thank you so much, Ingrid. So we've got a little bit over time. What I want to do is just take one question, and then we'll do a 15-minute breakout question. So if anyone wants to put something in the chat. Bravo, yes. Any questions for Ingrid? And you also have her email up here, so you can get in touch with her.
Okay. I think if you're saving your questions for the chat, the breakout rooms, Ingrid, do you want to stop screen sharing now? I think if you all have her contact information, that's absolutely essential. So like we said, I think the forum is really about hearing this information and hearing back from you. So we are going to so save up your questions here. You heard the question we want to address related to Ingrid's talk in the breakout sessions. We went a little bit over, and we knew that we would because we have a little bit smaller chat room. So I'm stepping in for our tech person to do breakout rooms. So I'm hoping I'm going to do this okay. So bear with me, you guys. I'm going to, I was putting you into chat rooms. I'm going to go ahead and we'll have 15 minutes. That'll end the chat room. So give 15 minutes to talk with our hosts. There's about 6 people to 7 people in each room. So I'm going to do that. And then I will break out of the chat rooms, come back to one room at 10 minutes to the hour approximately, so that we can have each of the hosts share the information or just share what you guys came up with during the sessions. Is that good with everybody? All right, so let's just try that. Hope everything goes okay. Thank you so much, Ingrid. That was excellent talk. We appreciate you launching this and getting us started. So here we go. If the moderators could, let's see, I guess if everybody just go ahead and keep your camera on, I think that would be great. We are going to do a summary, and I know we're trying to make the most of our hour. So thank you all, first of all, just so much for doing this and being part of this initial conversation. We're just getting started, and I hope you stay with us as we move down, looking forward down the road. Let me first ask, we have about, just about, let's see, maybe about a minute. I know that's short, but Harold, if you could start and give a summary of your group, and then followed by Ingrid.
Yeah, okay, well, I think what I gathered from our conversation, we were about 4 people there, is that the knowledge and skills around color, they're very fragmented, so that it's difficult to form a kind of picture who's teaching what. For example, John Seymour is teaching colorimetry to graphic designers, and then he doesn't really have an idea what else they're taught. So who takes care of the more sort of aesthetic side of color and so on, and whether they actually address that at all on the color on the graphic design course, or how they address it and so on. Osvaldo da Pos took up the same on the same lines, said that color it has many different disciplines. I mean, there's not only art and design, there's also the science of color, and there are different cultures to these disciplines. So it's hard to kind of package it in just one package, this whole thing about color. You have to address very specific needs and take into consideration these different cultures and these different traditions that run through them for hundreds of years even. Some of them have more philosophical background, some of them more practical, and some more artistic, and so on. So that's more or less.
Right. We have our work cut out for us. We need all hands on deck. Thank you so much, Harold. Ingrid, and then followed by Robin.
Yeah, we were talking about the fact that in order to update also color knowledge, it is necessary to pass from a static structure of knowledge to a dynamic one, and how color knowledge for design can also move according to the 21st century and be dynamic as the knowledge is being also dynamic. Then Amit proposed that designers have to build a new vocabulary of color from the design discipline that may also inform color science or color knowledge. So what is design bringing to the color knowledge or the color knowledge discussion? And then Anat also said something related to the implementation of new technologies and resources in order to also to update the teaching of color according to the new technologies and the possibilities of interaction that we may have in our 21st century. And the last discussion that we were having that was really interesting, and then we got cut, but we will probably continue to talk about it, was the fact that that research with and scholars that do research and share research with the community, as we are doing probably right now, they a lot of times do not bring this into the classroom. So research is not included inside of the curriculum, and it is not accessible to students. So this is something that we may also think about in order to see how can we bring all the new knowledge that we are building in our classroom and in our research, and trying to make that they connect with each other, and students are going to be also they are going to receive this and are going to be the ones that are going to be receive the benefit of it if we focus on it. So that is more or less what we were talking about.
Right, we're taking notes on all of this, so as we go forward. Ellen, and followed by Robert, and then Robin.
I deferred to Jean. She was being our note taker.
Yeah, I
When we
was the
talked.
note taker, so I'm Ellen. Okay, so the first thing that we focused on was the fact that if you are trying to get information in order to teach or to learn, self-study, that the information is often contradictory. Also, when looking at books, the subject matter is so complicated, the books are in a lot of ways too general, or they're too specific. And so, one of the questions we would have to Ingrid is, when she did her analysis of books, did she look at the type of book that it was? Was it a general text? Was it a specific text? Was it a text that pretty evenly cut across the same level of information in several different subjects? The other thing was that students come into the classes at a lot of different levels of experience with color. And also, since students are able to self-select, pick what they want to study, how do you draw them to color? How do you get them interested? And I like John's expression, how do you get to where they are hungry for the color, hungry for that information? We agreed with Ingrid that there needs to be a little bit of more emphasis on reflection and observation, that we may know the language, but we don't know how to speak it. And there are so many terms that mean different things in different disciplines. What kind of color experience can you provide? It is a visual phenomenon, so we want to be cautious about talking it to death by trying to put too many words against it. But at the same time, connecting it to other things with which people might be a little bit more familiar, such as their other senses. And so a promo for Ellen's upcoming Toronto speech on weaving the senses.
Perfect.
That's our thing.
That's great. Thank you so much, Jean. And Robert, report from your group, and then Robin will close it out.
Well, we had a good discussion,
That's
but
it. Will.
I'm sorry, only 3 of the group could speak. Sarah and Carrie had no chance, and I do apologize. My fault, I didn't conduct it strictly enough. But what we learned, and this was interesting, Robin mentioned that the problem is, and this is reflecting what Ingrid had said, color is just too complex. It's just too complicated. It cannot be tackled. And what came back from Montaha's remarks also, that people who have to work with color don't understand the basics. So professionals who work in the field may not be even interested in the fine parts. And Salintip, who teaches designers for 8 years, has been teaching designers, said the problem is the lack of infrastructure. For instance, to teach lighting or light, they need more devices. And of course, there are problems with online teaching, how to represent colors truly in a digital environment.
Right. Everybody taking notes on all this is what we get to tackle. Yeah, we'll do Robin, and then Jen Logan will close it.
So we recognized that it was a vast question that was very hard to difficult to discuss and answer. It's very big. We talked more about our approaches. One thing that I sort of think was common to what a lot of people were talking about was this importance of kind of this interdisciplinary nature of color, particularly bringing science together with art, helping teach, using science to teach art, art to teach science, and just that kind of relationship and working out the common vocabulary that people can use, and the notion too of digital color, and this fact that all the systems are different, and when you print it's another color, and so it's kind of getting used to noticing things first of all, and then being able to understand why they happen. So approaching it from a more fundamental level rather than trying to kind of impose a structure that students just end up memorizing, for example. So this interconnectedness between science and art, I think, is one of the most important pieces that we found.
Yes, absolutely. And and we've never been in this territory. We're in this new paradigm. So, you know, we need everyone to figure this out. Jen, you want to give us your report?
Yes, very similar conversation that with Robin. And I was speaking with Robert and Wayne, both of whom are retired. Robert is retired and deals with sort of the printing process. He was dealing with printing in the classes that he was teaching. And Wayne is actually a retired engineer who really worked with color TV engineering. So it was really, really fascinating for us to talk about our understanding of additive and subtractive color, how they relate to each other, how they overlap, shifting from using old primaries of sort of red, yellow, blue to now thinking about primaries of cyan, magenta, and yellow. And similarly, talking about the need for a common language, because all of these disciplines are dealing with color, and yet we're sort of approaching it from a different place. And so how can we start to bring together design with science and technology of color?
You know, right. You know, that slide that we showed at the beginning of the silos, and this is a global world. This seems, you know, this is exactly, you know, what our challenges and our opportunities are. So I think we know we're slightly over time. I really wanted to say to all of you here, thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate. We're looking for all the input. You have the contact information. I know for Ingrid. For the Color Literacy Project, we have our website. So, and also the ISCC, and then encouraging you to join the study group for color education. I'm going to ask Robert one quick question before we close. Robert, could you tell people how to join that group if they haven't?
It's very, very simple. You go to the website of the AIC, and there you find a link, but even easier if you write Maggie, Maggio, or myself, just 2 lines that you want to join the study group on color education. I will put in the textbook my email, which is very simple.
Great.
It's just my name.
I can put in Maggie's also.
Thank you.
So just send me a few lines that you want to join, and we'll join you. We are trying to make it automatic in the near future, but for the time being, it's manual. But it's just 2 lines. Yes, I'd like to join the study group. And that's
Right,
it.
because
If you also tell who you are and what you do, it would help.
right, because
Can I
like
just
go ahead.
say one thing before we break? Let's really thank our speaker, Ingrid, which we, if you can unmute and applaud. Thank you so much, Ingrid, for kicking us off. It was a very fascinating talk and really stimulated a lot of good discussion in the breakout groups. And also thank you, Luann, for bringing us all together. I think this is the start of something great, and look forward to future sessions and meeting lots of other people who love color as much as we all do.
Oh, thank Robin. That was so well said. And I think, like Robin just said, we are looking for, you know, for input for you. We plan to have a forum in the fall. We didn't, as we think about, we want to hear what you all had to say today, and we will be finding ways to work together. We need, you know, we recognize that this is a global effort. And I think everyone has seen that if you're doing it on an individual level at your school or wherever you're doing it, it's really hard. We really need all of us together. So a rising tide raises all ships. So again, thank you so much for being part of this today, you all. We'll continue this, and we will see you in the future, and have a wonderful, colorful day. And Ingrid, thank you so much for kicking us off.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.